Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Grey's Anatomy Season 3, Episode 23, Didn't We Almost Have It All?, which is also our Season 3 finale episode. And the episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So in this episode, we have the fourth climber coming in. He is saved, though it is revealed through the way that the pick entered the head that it was put in there deliberately, that it wasn't an accident as the climbers first started to claim. And we do find out after Derek finishes the surgery that Andy lawyers up and basically reveals that when they fell, Lonnie was in such a bad state that Andy felt there was no way he could possibly make it. And so the reason that they put the ice pick in his head, it was deliberate, but it was to try to show mercy and put him out of his misery so he wouldn't have to suffer until the end, because they just didn't feel like he was able to make it and he wasn't able to move with them in order to try to get help or get found. Um, and then the twins are born. I don't think it's specified if the mother did choose Walter and Joe or not, but the babies are born successfully and she is saved. She ended up having a heart condition, which Burke had to operate to save her. So that ends up happy. Adele does end up miscarrying. She does reveal that the baby was actually Richard's, and that it was a boy before the miscarriage. And she also confesses to potentially having misjudged the father, and then she of course describes Richard, how he stayed with her in the hospital, etc., which is a nice moment between them, though it isn't clear whether their relationship is going to continue or not at this point. Rebecca, having gotten her memory back, her husband does come to the hospital to see his daughter and to bring Rebecca home. She's still unsure about going home with him, and she appeals to Alex to give her a reason to stay, but he doesn't do so, so she does go home with her husband and baby. Should be noted, Alex does run back at the end of the episode, but she's already gone, so that amounts to nothing. And I believe that is all of the patients for the episode. Then we have our main dramas. So first off, we have Derek. He tells Meredith about flirting with Lexi at the bar and that it was the highlight of his week. And she then basically is like, if you don't want to be in this, then don't be in this. And then he appeals to her and basically says he can't leave her. He's in it. It's entirely up to her. And she basically early in the episode tells Christina and then mid-episode tells Derek that she needs Christina to get married to show that girls like them can get their happy endings, and that she needs that before she can make a decision to go forward with Derek fully. However, that brings us then to the wedding, where everything's going smoothly. Burke is at the altar, but as Christina's about to go to the altar, she realizes that the vows she had written on her hand, she scrubbed off when she scrubbed in earlier that day, and has a panic attack, which is able to be heard in the church. Burke then comes out and basically she's calmed down. She's like, okay, we're ready to do this. And then he says, no, we're not going to do that. And he leaves. This leaves Meredith to tell the congregation that's there, all of the guests, that everything is over. They can all go home. It's over, so over. And in a sense, she's talking to the audience, but also to Derek, who's the best man, who she glances at before leaving. Then there is a scene in Christina's apartment. She returns to the apartment and is sure that Burke's gone. Meredith says his stuff is still here, but then she points out all of his most beloved things are gone. So he left like a lot of the furniture and the things that don't matter to him, but everything that did matter, his instrument, his favorite artist's albums, his favorite scrub cap, his grandmother's picture, all have been taken from the apartment, and then she has a mental breakdown, which, of course, Meredith assists her through. We then have Derek being given the position of chief. However, he declines it, saying he's not right for the job right now, but that Richard still is, and that Richard deserves a second chance to do things better this time. And so he gives up the position of chief back to Richard. Um, Callie is the one who gets chief resident, even though we expected it to be Bailey. Um, and then we have Izzy confesses her feelings to George, but he and Callie have decided to have a baby, um, or at least start trying for a baby together. And we do learn that George fails his intern test, which is why he skips the wedding. And then he's cleaning out his locker because his only options are either to change careers or to redo his intern year, which he, at this point at least, doesn't want to. And as he's cleaning out his locker, a bunch of new residents come in, a couple of whom are recurring, some that are single episode, not even named interns. And one of those interns happens to be Lexi, who comes over to him and asks him if he has any advice before introducing herself as Lexi Gray, which of course startles him as she walks away. But that's our closing scene of the episode. So now that we've been reminded what happened this episode, we will now rank the episode. As always, we'll start with our mostly objective ranking list, which uses set values to determine the score, followed by the personal ranking list, which is based on entertainment value and opinion. So first we have 1 point for our single episode supporting character introductions, and that is Jeff Pope, who is Rebecca's husband, and Lonnie, who is the fourth climber. Then we have our supporting relationship development, which is Callie and George deciding to try for a baby. Worth 2 points, worth 3 points each, we have our multi-season supporting character introductions. These are the recurring interns. We have Laura, and we have Pierce Haley, or Haley. And again, 3 points each. Multi-season supporting character developments, 3 points each as well. Adele miscarries. Rebecca is discharged from the hospital. We then have another 3 points for impactful, memorable, moment line, etc. And this we have Christina's apartment freakout, which I think is even more memorable than Burke leaving her at the altar, at least in my mind. It's when I'm thinking of this episode, that's the scene I think of for the wedding not going through, not really the goodbye or the speech he gives her about why he's leaving and deciding not to marry her. It's that aftermath when she, notices all the missing things, standing alone, looking bereft in the apartment, and then basically having to be cut out of the dress by Meredith, who then, has to hold her because she's having the freak out. I feel like that's a very memorable scene. There's also Meredith's line of, "It's over, you can all go home now, it's over, it's so over," before leaving. And then we have positive 4 points for our multi-season main character developments, and that's George failing his intern test, Callie being named chief resident over Bailey, and then Derek getting the chief position, but then declining the job to give it back to Richard, telling Richard to do it over and do it better this time. And then we have our negatives for this episode, which are worth -3 points each, which is, of course, the fact that Derek tells Meredith that flirting with Lexi was the highlight of his week. Nothing happened there, but she should be worried because if that's the highlight of his week, clearly their relationship isn't doing great. And then, Meredith basically, to both Christina and Derek, hangs her future relationship with Derek on how successful Christina's marriage is because, she's using it to prove that people like them can get their happy endings, which of course does not go well because Brooke ends up dumping Christina at the wedding at the altar. And so, all of those considered, we are above 10, making this a 10 out of 10 episode. And now we come to the mostly objective ranking, and this is the official ranking for season 3, as we have, of course, completed this season. This is the finale. So, in spot 1, we have Where the Boys Are. 2, Don't Stand So Close to Me. 3, Great Expectations. 4, Wishin' and Hopin'. 5, Walk on Water. 6, Drowning on Dry Land. 7, Some Kind of Miracle. 8, Testing 1, 2, 3. 9, Didn't We Almost Have It All? 10, Let the Angels Commit. 11, My Favorite Mistake. 12, I Am a Tree. 13, Desire. 14, Time Has Come Today. 15, Oh the Guilt. 16, The Other Side of This Life. 17, Staring at the Sun. 18, From a Whisper to a Scream. 19, 6 Days. 20, What I Am. 21, Sometimes a Fantasy. 22, Scars and Souvenirs. And then in 23rd spot, we have Time After Time. Personal ranking for this episode is also, no surprise, a 10 out of 10. I didn't think that there were any problematic behaviors in this episode. Lexi does happen to be one of my favorite recurring characters, even though she only does so for a few seasons. She's one of the ones that I remember the most, and I did like her probably. If I was ranking all of the main characters, which I probably will do once we've watched the entire series, she probably would be pretty high up there. So I love that we're getting Lexi in. I like that she meets George and introduces herself to startle him. I obviously think that the marriage breaking up was basically what the season was leading to, with all of the miscommunications and the reluctance from Christina. And even when Christina is in the apartment, one thing I'd forgotten to mention before, she says, I'm fine, like I'm free, I'm finally free. And then she says, damn it, because she didn't actually want to be free. She thought she did, but now that she is, she didn't want to. And it's, devastating. And that's why she had to be cut out of her dress and has her freak out, because she realizes that she actually did want it, but she wasn't certain of that until it ended up being taken from her, which is unfortunate, but also, it makes for a really impactful scene. Everybody got all dressed up. The aesthetics of the wedding reception, we resolved all of the patients that we started in the previous episode, and much like the previous episode, they all were very interesting cases. Alex missed out on potentially being with um, Rebecca, and Addison is told when she tells Richard that she needs the job of being the chief in order to stay, because she needs to have something. He tells her that she either needs a new job or a new life, if her only reason to stay is a new job. And obviously, as we know, after this season, she goes on to be in Private Practice, the spin-off series. So, an apt line there. I just think I didn't find anything really dislikable about the episode. It's not my favorite ever, but also I feel like everything that happened was a milestone, was important, and was meant to be there, and the entire episode was very engaging and entertaining to watch. So, 10 out of 10 I do feel is fair and what I wanted to give it, which now brings our official season 3 rankings on the personal ranking to in first, Some Kind of Miracle, second, Walk on Water, third, Drowning on Dry Land, 4, Wishin' and Hopin', 5, I Put This Episode, Didn't We Almost Have It All, 6, Testing 1, 2, 3, 7, Great Expectations, 8, Don't Stand So Close to Me, 9, 6 Days, 10, Where the Boys Are, 11, From a Whisper to a Scream, 12, Staring at the Sun, 13, Let the Angels Commit, 14, I Am a Tree, 15, What I Am, 16, Scars and Souvenirs, 17, Desire, 18, Sometimes a Fantasy, 19, My Favorite Mistake, 20, Time Has Come Today, 21, Oh, the Guilt, 22, Time After Time, and in last place for me was 23, The Other Side of This Life, and even that was mostly because it was a private practice pilot type introduction as opposed to like a legitimate episode in my opinion. That's why it's last, but still was a good episode. And so we have now our final rankings, our final scores, and that allows us to officially mark season 3 and place it within its ranking. So on the mostly objective ranking, season 1 came in at 77.78%, season 2 came in at 76.67%, season 3 ended with 153 out of a possible 230, which is 66.52%, which does leave it in third place. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking side, we had season 3 ending with a score of 178 out of a possible 230, which is 77.39%, and that does put it into first place. Season 2 in second was 72.22%, and then season 1 is in third with 66.67%. And with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Grey's Anatomy Season 3, the finale episode, episode 23. Didn't we almost have it all? Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.